Hi there, Leah from Lekela Music here. I'm about to show you 4 clips of me playing the piano, 4 different pieces. And I want you to see if you can work out what are we discussing today when you watch these clips. 2 of them are fine. 2 of them, the way I play is there's no issue with it. One of them is definitely a no-no, you'll spot that straight away. But there's one other that's a little bit iffy, a little bit open to discussion, and you might get that one wrong. You might be surprised at which one is the iffy one at the end. So have a look and come back and we'll talk about it. Before I forget, I have something useful for you. If you go to the description, you'll see a link in it where you can go and download a practice workbook that I've put together for you. It explains some of the most useful practice techniques, and there's a little log at the end where you can kind of keep track of which ones you're using and when you're applying them. Hopefully you'll find that useful. So have a look for that. I'll pin it to the top comment as well. You'll find it there as well. Okay, so you've had a look at the 4 clips, and maybe now you have an idea of what we're talking about. Particularly the 3rd clip, I think, is going to make it pretty obvious that we're talking about, you know, how often should you look at the page versus down at the keyboard or up and down. The 3rd one, obviously, is the definite no-no, where my head is bobbing up and down. I found that really hard to play. You probably heard it in the music. I played it badly because I kept losing my place, and that's exactly what happens if you're trying to read music, but your head is, you're looking down at your hands and you're looking up at the page and you're looking down again. So that's the one that you definitely don't want to do. The ones that were okay were the first one, where I was just playing from memory, and I was just looking at my hands the whole time, and the second one where I was looking at the page and occasionally looking down, so just to position my hands for, you know, if I was changing a hand position. You might think that the last one, where I was just, you know, firmly fixed on the page without looking down, that was a good one as well, but actually I'm going to say not really. I found that very difficult as well. That was only a grade 3 piece, and I actually found it quite difficult because I didn't quite know where my hands were going to land, or you know, are they going to land in the right place. You don't need to have you know, a psychic level of understanding of where the keys are. You are allowed to look down occasionally, and just a quick glance. And now I'm not talking about like the 3rd example where the head is bobbing up and down, but it's perfectly okay to look down now and again. We've just been watching the Olympics, haven't we, for the last couple of weeks, and you know, we really admire those people, the very, very high level of achievements that they've gotten to. We know that we don't need to achieve that ourselves. We're quite happy to watch other people who are able to do that. We just want to be good enough, you know, in whether it's sports or music or whatever it is. We only need to be good enough to meet our own goals. So if you're, you know, I see it all the time online, and the question comes up for me again and again is, you know, how do I stop myself from looking down at my hands? And my answer is, it's actually okay to look down at your hands. It's not a crime. Nobody's going to jump out and arrest you for doing it. It's only a difficulty if it's interfering with your ability to read what's on the page, if you keep losing your place on the page. But looking down now and again is you know, it's normal, it's natural. So don't feel that you're doing anything wrong by looking down. Now, if it's excessive, you need to tackle that. So what can you do to make sure that you're not doing the head bob all the time? So it could be that you don't trust your knowledge of the layout of the keyboard. But if you're a beginner player, and if this question is coming up for you, you're likely to be kind of in the reasonably early stages of your playing. A lot of the time, the pieces you're playing don't require much movement. You know, you're not jumping around the piano so much. So it might be just a question of learning to trust that the notes that you need are actually under your fingers. So not to be so ready to look down at your hands, but to actually allow your fingers to work it out for themselves. So you can spend some time away from your pieces, just you know, close your eyes or put a scarf over your eyes, or look at the ceiling, whatever it is, and see if you can find particular notes on the piano. See if you can find all the A's. Can you find all the D's? You're relating to where the black notes are. And then put your hands in a 5-finger position. You know, usually it's a C position or maybe a G position or an F position, you know, the simple ones. And just see, can you play different notes at will. I'm going to play an E, I'm going to play a G. Can I figure out which finger? Can I remember which finger is on that particular note? And just spend some time. You're building up your own sense of trust in yourself is mainly what you're doing, and you're building up your knowledge of the keyboard. You will naturally develop spatial awareness of the keyboard as your playing progresses. So that's kind of just built in as you gain more experience. That's just going to happen. But it is a good idea to spend some time on the geography of the piano and really getting familiar with where all the notes are. Because sometimes it's a question of, okay, I know I need to play a G, but I can't remember where the G is. So if that's the case, you have to look down and figure out where it is. Then you need to step back and spend some time really getting familiar with where all the notes are, so that becomes automatic. If you're finding it really hard to not look down while you're, playing your music, there are a couple of things that you can do, once you've tackled the basic piano geography things. You can limit yourself. You can give yourself permission to look down maybe 3 times while you're playing a particular piece of music. And you'll find that those 3 times become very precious and you won't want to waste them, and you hopefully will not look down as much. Of course, there may well be places in your music where you really need to, and that's one way you're going to discover where those places are. So I'm moving my hand, I'm changing position here, I actually really do need to look down here to make sure I get it accurately. That's fine. But you might find if it's a piece that's in a 5-finger position, then you might not need to look down at all, and you get to the very end and realize you haven't had to use up any of your 3 goes. Another thing you can do, which might help, I've seen a couple of people try it, is just cover your hands. I imagine if you put a cloth or something over your hands, you might find your fingers get tangled. So if you can rig up some way that it's not interfering with your playing, it might help to just cover your hands. I often hold a book over my students' hands, the young kids, if they're looking down all the time and they get a good giggle out of it and they're looking down and suddenly there's a book in the way, they're caught out. So that's, that's a couple of things you can do. But I think just being aware of it and really just trusting your hands to know where they are. Trust your fingers to know what notes they're in charge of. If you're in a 5-finger position, or maybe just moving a tiny little bit, you can trust your fingers to know which notes they're in charge of and see how you get on. So the next video I want you to watch after this is this one here. It's going to talk you through a few suggestions for that, and also the other 2 core strategies that you need to actually develop your playing. So enjoy watching that. Don't forget to hit the like button, it really helps my channel, and until I see you again, happy practicing. Daisy. 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 Thank you. Go to bed. Be good.